Hey y'all, welcome back to the TXRF podcast. And I want to start off by saying that I accidentally lied to y'all. I think I said there was not going to be any more bonus episodes, but that's what we're doing here right now because the off season is dry. It's only been a couple weeks since the World Series ended, believe it or not. But the off season's dry. It's just really starting to get going. And I wanted to just kind of ramble about what's happened already because there have been a couple big deals and what may happen soon. So, starting off, talk about the deals that have happened. First one was Eduardo Rodriguez, better known as Erod, signed a 5-year, $77 million deal with the Tigers. I don't know what to make of that signing because he had a 4.7 ERA last year. And yes, the Red Sox did go pretty far, but considering a deal that was made today, Jose Barrios extension with the Blue Jays, 7 years, 130 million. He only got a little bit more AAV, which for those who don't know is annual average value, than Erod, and has a much better history. And I think, yeah, they're about the same age. Erod's 28, Barrios is 27. However, it will be something that does affect the market. There was additionally a trade earlier this month, not long after the World Series, where the Tigers got Tucker Barnhart from the Reds in exchange for Nick Quintana. So I guess what's going on there is they're trying to prove that they're serious about spending and trading. Maybe not the best deal. I probably would have gone, I don't know, maybe like 5 years, 70 million. And I mean, we're not talking much in the grand scheme of things, but it seems like they're going all in on Erod. He has had some good years. I'm reading this article from ESPN as I'm talking about this. He was Boston's best starter in 2019, according to this article, finishing sixth in Cy Young voting with a 19-6 record and a 3.81 ERA. So make of that as you will. But the deal today, Jose Barrios, I thought that was a steal for the Blue Jays. Less than $20 million a year for one of the premier starters. He had like a sub-3 ERA going down the stretch into the playoffs. So definitely someone they want to keep around if they're serious about making a playoff run. And ironically, the Jays and Rangers might meet in the playoffs again here in the next year or two. Probably not 2022, but it seems like they're on the same cycle currently as we all remember 2015 and 16. I don't need to say much about that. But they have some rising stars, Vladdy, Bo Bichette. They got Barrios now, Alek Manoah. And then the Rangers are about to have Cole Winn, Josh Young, and then the plethora of outfielders that they got. Suddenly, guys like Owen White are popping up. And then, of course, Jack Leiter. I mean, the teams are going to kind of line up here again, I think. Maybe 2023 ALDS rematch or something. I don't know. They could pull a 2015 this year too and just make the playoffs for no good reason really, but we'll see. They won the division in 2015, so I don't think that's going to happen unless the Astros completely fall off, which it doesn't seem like they are. So that's kind of the first bit I wanted to talk about. But now getting into what I think the Rangers will do. Well, maybe I should start out with what I think they should do. What they should do is sign a premier starter, which right now I totally forgot that Jose Barrios was potentially on the line as well as Erod and guys like that. But they should sign a guy like Scherzer, Kershaw, Stroman. Stroman's probably my number one pick right now because they can get him like a similar deal to Erod, maybe a little bit more because he's objectively a lot better than Erod. But same amount of years, like 5 years-ish, because Stroman is 30. He's either 29 or 30, so don't want to get too many years on that. But sign a premier starter. Sign one of the big shortstops, which right now is Seager, Baez, Correa, and Story. My two top picks would probably be Seager and Story. However, I do think Seager will stay with LA, and plus they can outbid Texas without even trying. And then as far as it goes for Story, he would be a pretty good option in terms of not having to spend a ton. And he's pretty good. I mean, we'll have to see how he does away from Coors Field. I think I looked up his splits once, and his away splits are not very good. Most players aren't, but there is that classic Coors Field effect that everyone talks about. I'll actually pull that up real quick while I keep talking here. But you got those two, and then of course Carlos Correa. I just don't think he is going to be worth the money per se. I mean, he's going to want 300 million plus. He's going to want a Lindor contract, and Lindor got something like 10 years, 340 million, I think. Oh, and looking here, at the time of recording this, Trevor Story's birthday was actually yesterday. He's 29 years old now. But taking a look at his career numbers real quick to interject, 251 career batting average, or sorry, 272 rather, hit 251 in 2021, 24 home runs, 75 driven in, 20 stolen bases, above league average in pretty much all offensive categories. Only a couple years removed from an all-star game, back-to-back all-star games where he was hitting 294 in 2019 and 291 in 2018. But what I want to see here are the splits. So that's really going to be telling of how it goes. And here are the splits. I know y'all can't see it. I'm talking like you can see it. So here is why I was concerned. Trevor Story at home, which was Coors Field, bats 303. Trevor Story away. This is almost the exact same amount of games, by the way. 375 games at home, 370 on the road. So 303 at home. On the road, he hits 241. And considering he hit 250 last year, that's a bit concerning because that was in a full season with, home and away splits being normal. Now, I'm not one to overreact to one bad season. He's got a good track record, of course, but that's a career split. That's not a 2021 split. I can take a look at the 2021 split here and see what the difference was. So maybe this will be more telling, recency bias or whatever. So it's wow, it's not any better. So at home he hit 296, and on the road he hit 203 in the exact same amount of games, 71 games. Granted, 3 of the games on the road he didn't start, but still the same amount of games, roughly the same amount of plate appearances, and a 93-point batting average difference. So that is what I'm concerned about because there will be no Coors Field when he's here. You got Globe Life Field, which seems like it's been one of the hardest fields to hit a home run in, unless your name is Adolis Garcia or Joey Gallo, right? So that's been my concern with him. It does look like his OPS plus is his OPS away is 717, which is below league average. And this is a stat that I'm not familiar with. It's SOPS plus, which is OPS for split relative to league split OPS, whatever that's supposed to mean. A number greater than 100 indicates this batter did better than the league in this split. Oh, okay. It's talking about relative to the away. Okay. So for the away OPS, Trevor Story is exactly average. He's at 100, but at home he's 136, which means he's 36% better than anyone at home. And I know that's a lot of numbers that don't really mean anything to most of y'all, but my point is his home and away splits are concerning. 2021 was batting 296 at home, 203 away, and then career was batting 303, I think, and then 303 at home and 241 on the road. So that was my whole point with that. Otherwise, he's a great player. He still is a great player, but that's just something that people were concerned with someone like Nolan Arenado getting traded to the Cardinals because he has been a monster at Coors Field, but he adjusted nicely. So, and to wrap up that whole tangent on shortstops, the last one being Javier Baez, no. I don't need to go into details on that one, but he is way too much of a swing and miss guy. Pretty good at defense, but Rangers have enough swing and miss guys, generally speaking. And they could use a guy like Elvis, who was most of the time an average hitting shortstop, and he hit for average. And I think someone like Seager and Story combined both of those. You saw Trevor Story hit 24 home runs last year. That is more than Elvis ever hit in a season. And I'm not comparing him to Elvis. I'm just saying generally the Rangers haven't had a shortstop that has hit for too much power, at least in the last 10 years, which is the Elvis era. So they could use a guy like that. But to wrap all that up, basically Seager and Story would be my top picks. Correa would be a long shot just financially. That'd be the biggest deal Texas has ever given, by the way, if they signed Correa, because he's going to want $300 million. The largest deal that Texas has given was Alex Rodriguez in like 2001 or whatever it was. 10 years, $252 million. They have not given a bigger deal since. I think the largest since that has been Beltre. He got 6 years, 96. And I think that's it. They haven't really gotten anyone with a massive contract. Technically, Elvis's extension, I guess, would be the biggest one. That was $120 million, I believe. But nothing like an insane contract, because it seems like a lot of teams these days have one guy who has a huge contract. Example, Bryce Harper with the Phillies. He's got like a 13-year deal. Francisco Lindor with the Mets. He's got a 10-year deal. It's like $300 million. Garrett Cole with the Yankees. The list goes on and on. Mike Trout with the Angels has the biggest North American sports contract, apart from Patrick Mahomes, who has literally a $500 million contract, which is nuts. So, yeah, my point with that, it's a thing that teams do these days, at least. So I think if they were going to go with Correa, they should give him whatever he wants if they were going to go that route, because he's going to have a high asking price. And if you want one single guy to build around, that was a discussion with Gallo before they traded him, was if you want one guy to build around, you got to pay him. And the Rangers didn't pay Gallo, and he went to the Yankees. Granted, they got a pretty good return because Ezekiel Duran has been going off in the fall league, if y'all have seen those clips on my channel. I think he's hitting like 284 now or something. It's pretty solid stuff from the young guy. So I don't think they should go down the one huge player route in terms of like a mega deal, but that's what you'd have to do with Correa. And then, of course, Baez, if they don't have any other options, I guess. I mean, he just seems too swing and missy for me. With not enough to make up for it. Because guys like Gallo literally won 2 Gold Gloves in a row this year and last year. So he can make up for that, the strikeouts. And he was still getting on base a ton. He still had above league average OPS, hitting 199. Somehow still had like 30-something home runs. So you got to be able to balance out in that. And I totally lost track of where I was. I know I said starter, shortstop, and then there are a couple of interesting bullpen guys available, which is something we all know the Rangers have historically struggled with. They will be getting back Jose Leclerc and Jonathan Hernandez in 2022, but it doesn't hurt to have, one or two other guys. And the two probably best options right now are Joe Kelly and Kenley Jansen. Now, I do believe Kenley Jansen will go back to the Dodgers. I don't think Joe Kelly will. And one of my followers actually brought up this point. He said Joe Kelly might want to come here just to play the Astros more consistently, which is an interesting thought and could work out. I personally don't like him, but that's on a personal level. That's not like as a player. If he pitches well, I don't care what. I don't care what he does on the field, basically. In terms of like if he wants to taunt the Astros or whatever, just pitch well. And Kenley Jansen needs no introduction. He's getting a little bit up there in age. I think he's 34, probably going to be 35 this year. But that might be more of the strategic thing that the Rangers like to do in terms of signing a veteran player to get a mentor of sorts. So I'd be okay with that for the right price. And of course, he's statistically one of the best closers in MLB history. Him and Craig Kimbrell are two of the top guys ever. So it's insane that they're both playing at the same time. Especially the fact that Jansen was a catcher when he first started. So that's a whole other thing. But yeah, that's probably my main wish list there. I presume the main infield next year will look like Nate Lowe at first, probably Solak at second, hopefully Seager / Story at short, or whoever they get at short, and then Josh Young at third. Yes, one more, Nick Castellanos. That's the other one. Get another outfielder. I posted today that they're looking into Starling Marte. He's a little bit older now. I think he's 33. And this is in terms of baseball. In terms of baseball, not overall. I mean, it's one of the only sports you can really play into your 40s unless your name's Tom Brady. But I would rather have them try to get Nick Castellanos because he almost just had an MVP season. So I don't know how much he would want, but maybe another like 3 to 4 year deal. Kind of like what they did with Ian. I'm going blank on his last name. Ian Desmond. With the Rockies gave Ian Desmond something like that. Because Castellanos will perform deeper into his 30s. I think he's 29 right now. So getting those guys that are about to be in the prime, and then maybe by 2023, we can actually have a shot at the whole thing. So to recap my offseason wish list here, get a starting pitcher, get a shortstop, get a outfielder, and get maybe one bullpen guy. And I think that would be a phenomenal offseason for the Rangers. Now, what are they actually going to do is the question on everyone's mind. And I think they're probably going to go to some cheaper veteran players, kind of like what they did this past offseason. I don't like to be negative like that, but the track record stands. They keep putting out these articles in the past couple of weeks like, oh, Rangers are ready to spend. They're going to really spend. And nothing in the past few seasons at least has shown that. I'm not going to be fully blind to the fact that they've gotten guys like Shin-Soo Choo, who had a $140 million deal. That's another one I forgot to mention when I was talking about the contracts. So they spend money. It seems like it's kind of in bunches, though, which is fine. You do whatever you want with the money. But I think in the past few years, they've spent in the wrong places in the wrong times, because you probably want someone in this offseason class. You got chances at some Hall of Famers like Scherzer, Kershaw. You got a chance at some rising stars like, well, for lack of a better word, I mean, these guys have been established for a while, but like Stroman, Castellanos, and you got a chance at some of the most premier shortstops that you will probably get in the next 5 or so years. Correa, Seager, Story, even Baez, So I'm not going to act like they don't spend, but the recency bias in terms of them not really wanting to win, or at least showing that they want to win, is clear. They totally fell off after 2016. They tried to redo it in 2017, pretty much gave up by 2018. And then 2019 to present has been a bit disappointing, to say the least. But I do believe it will turn around. I just don't believe that they're going to spend this offseason. And that's another personal thing. Objectively, they probably will. It's just, I've touched the stove too many times here to to believe it until I see it, really. And I hope I do see it. I hope we all see it for the sake of the team and the fan base. But just from the past few seasons, it has not been shown that they are serious about it. And if they do show it, I am excited to see it, you know? They've been sending the wrong message to fans recently and said, let's build a new stadium. Okay. But what about put some players on the field instead of spending $1 billion on a stadium, right? And I'm not one to say we don't need the stadium. We've been through all those debates already, but you got to send the right message to people. If you're going to build a new stadium, put some players in it, you know, put some all-star caliber players in it. Doesn't have to be a whole team of them. We're not the Yankees here, you know, we're not Dodgers. We're not buying a championship. But you got to have one or two big guys. This is the thing I've been saying a lot in the past year. So I'm going to cut off my own rant here. But I hope y'all enjoyed this kind of bonus episode ramble thing. And let me know your thoughts. You know, I'm going to try to get some interviews going here. I know a little bit of a teaser for not for a while from now, but I will have Owen White on here at some point. And I'm just looking forward to what happens in the offseason. So hopefully it is all for the better. But we have been a bit let down here in the last few seasons in terms of what they do in the offseason. Or if they do something, for example, Corey Kluber, it just doesn't end up working out. And it's no one's fault. Specifically, he got injured, you know, no one's fault. So I'm ready for the future because we got Jack Leiter on the way. We got all these great prospects coming up, and it will be an exciting time to be a Rangers fan. So I hope y'all stick along for the ride. I know I have been for most of my life. So keep rolling. And I appreciate you listening, and I'll talk to y'all later.